Support comes from UT's Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center, featuring miles of trails and nearly 900 native plant species. More about the official Botanic Garden of Texas at wildflower.org.
Our friends come over and we love to walk the farm and take things out of the ground, and they eat it right there. Not a lot of people get to do that. I'm Leanne Andrews.
I'm Jordan Andrews.
And this is Billy and Jean's farm. We named it after our grandmothers. So when we graduated from TCU for undergrad, we moved to Iowa for 6 years. I was a grad student there studying theater stage management. And then, well, we didn't have any money because I was a grad student.
Yes.
And so one of the ways that we found that we could buy food or afford food was to volunteer at the farmer's market. So if we volunteered for a farm there, they gave us a free CSA box every week. And that was our groceries for the week. And then we moved to Washington for 4 years, just following our careers, and had grown food in all of those places. After doing theater for almost 12 years, when the pandemic hit, we decided we wanted to farm full-time.
We decided to move home to Austin when the rest of the country decided it would also be a really good idea to move to Austin. Kyle was just kind of where we found the house, where it was affordable, where it was close to 35 and
no HOA.
No HOA, so we can do whatever we want with our land. For the first 9 months, I taught high school. So I would leave in the morning and come home, and it was amazing the amount of work that she would do every day that I got home. So yeah, what were you doing those first couple weeks of school?
Yeah, so literally the very first thing that I did was lay out how I wanted the beds to look, like how I could maximize the amount of space. And so I just used string and laid everything out, and then it was just bare Bermuda grass. So I put cardboard down. I went to every recycling center I could and dumpster dived for good cardboard and stripped it all, and then laid that down, and then ordered compost from the city of Kyle. So they use all the yard waste and make compost, and you can have it delivered. So I had all that compost delivered and put 4 inches of compost down on all the front beds, and then laid the drip lines. And then maybe a month after turning the drip on, we realized that the clay soil was so heavy underneath that between the compost and the cardboard, they weren't draining. So then we dug trenches in between, 6-inch trenches in between every single bed, and filled it with river rock, and that has completely fixed that. We don't have rainwater collection yet, but we will in year 3 of the farm. So right now, we don't have gutters, and so for some reason, this corner is where all the water drains. Like the whole house basically drains right here. So there's like 2 or 3 inches of river rock and then cardboard, so it really helps distribute that water, and it doesn't all just pool right by the house.
We knew we couldn't use it for food production, but we knew that we needed pollinators. We really needed flowers and aesthetics and things like that. And that's really not our thing. I can grow you some kale, but I'm not a huge flower person.
No.
And my mother, Kelly Andrews, has a stunning house in Georgetown. She does all of her own landscaping, does all her own design. She maintains the flowers for us and teaches us how to do it, and we're really still learning.
So grateful. We want to be able to make our own compost because of our heavy clay soil, we add compost at nearly every planting. Mm-hmm. Most people only add compost once or twice a year, depending on where you live, but we add an inch of compost every planting. And we have a lot of food waste. One of the ways we get rid of that food waste is we got chickens recently. So we have a backyard flock of 6 chickens. They eat a lot of our greens, which is great.
Yes.
But we also use their wood shavings and their waste in the compost to try and add nitrogen. We sell at the SFC Farmers Market downtown, and being a member of Sustainable Food Center, they help you so much.
We did have really insane weather the first year that we lived here, which can happen in Texas. So the benefits of that is we feel like we've kind of seen it all. You have to have
row cover,
you have to have shade cloth, you have to have these things. And coming from theater, theater is just problem solving. That's all theater is. The problem is we need the audience to think that it's 1920s and we're on a beach, but we're not. We're in a theater in downtown Austin. So the constant problem solving is what we've always done.
So right now in the ground, we still have all of our cool season things in. We have all of our salad greens, brassicas, and root vegetables and peas, but we're transitioning slowly into all of our warmer season things. We have eggplant and squash in right now, next wheat tomatoes and then peppers. We do follow basic crop rotation principles to try and keep pest pressure down and to keep the soil healthy. So we try to plant things that will feed the soil before things that are heavy feeders. Then we don't really do much interplanting. We would if this was more of a home garden, but because we're trying to get the most production possible out of a bed, then we really do try to keep things in neat rows and all the same thing. However, we allow mistakes to flourish on the farm. There are a lot of mixed beds right now. One of the reasons why is because lettuce gets stuck in our cedar. So even if it is in the middle of a beet bed or turnips, whatever, there's lettuce there now. And then the other weird thing right now that doesn't always happen is in one of the freezes, we had just seeded everything. This winter was just a battery of freezes. So every time we would seed things or transplant, there would be another freeze and everything would die and we'd have to replant. And we did that three times. And then it got warm enough and both sets of things germinated. Hakurei turnips are a small, sweet Japanese turnip. We grow them because they're small, so they grow pretty quickly. And then we fell in love with them. We'd actually never tried a Hakurei turnip before we planted them. And then the first time that we harvested it, I ate one and was like, this tastes like actual candy. Like,
yeah, they're super sweet, they're crunchy.
So we love them. Root vegetables do really, really well here. We have very heavy clay soil, but roots can just push through that.
We grow tatsoi, which is similar to a bok choy. It can grow and be more of a braising vegetable, but we cut it really small and put it in a salad mix, and a lot of arugula.
And then we grow microgreens, including pea shoots and sunflower shoots, because those are just so hearty and delicious, and you can add them into any salad mix.
We also do broccoli and radish microgreens, and we add those into our salad mix as well. Microgreens are just plants that are 7 to 14 days old. So I grow them in trays indoors under lights, and the whole idea is that these little tiny plants have the same or similar nutrients that they will when they're a full-grown plant. Leanna's also an excellent gluten-free baker. She's always been an excellent gluten-free baker, and then for several months when the theater was shut down, when we still lived in Seattle, she did a lot of baking, as everybody did.
Else. Yeah.
And has developed a couple recipes that we now always have some sort of gluten-free baked good at the market. And that really kind of started, I would say, last year with we overgrew zucchini last year. And Leanne found a great gluten-free zucchini bread recipe.
Right now we're doing rosemary focaccia bread because our rosemary did well over winter. And then we'll do zucchini bread in the spring, peach hand pies in the summer. We planted 6 peach trees this fall, 2 early varieties, 2 mid and 2 late, so that we could extend our season as much as possible. And we know that 6 peach trees isn't that much production, but it's enough for us, and like I said, we bake with them. We sell every Saturday morning at the SFC Farmers Market in downtown Austin, and then every Sunday morning at the downtown Buda Farmers Market at Buda City Park. We have always been passionate about healthy eating and local food and eating close to home and seasonal eating. We always kind of knew that when we were done doing theater full time, we wanted to really invest our lives and our lifestyle in eating that way. And we didn't know what that looked like or what it meant, but this is what it's turned into, and we're so grateful for that.
Being outside and working here was so healing for me. I taught high school remotely last year, and it was extremely difficult. It's one of the most difficult things I've ever done. I was supposed to be teaching in a theater with 20 kids making things, and instead I was in a classroom, an empty bare bones classroom alone, right, on a camera. Then I would come home out in the evening and get to start helping on the farm. And then when we started harvesting did a big Friday harvest, and about once a month I would take off work because there was just a lot to do. And I found those Fridays spent washing greens at our pack station was just extremely healing for me. It was a time to be outside, to be quiet, to think my thoughts. And I feel like I processed the pandemic in a new job. I processed all of that out here on this land. So when I got to finally turn this into my full-time job, I was so ready for it, because this is truly my happy place.